Now, Turkey is one of the most energy-hungry countries in the world. In fact, only China's demand for natural gas and electricity is growing faster. Well, Turkey's energy minister now says the government plans to drill for more oil and gas. Meanwhile, the country is also planning to become a major hub for gas supplies from Russia to Europe. Azhar Sukri reports.
This small seaside town on Turkey's Black Sea coast is set to become a crucial part of the country's energy transformation plan. Kıyıköy is the site where the massive Turk Stream pipeline will come ashore, carrying gas from Russia. Its planners want it to start operations by late 2019. The pipeline will run for 900 kilometers from Anapa on Russia's southern coast to Kıyıköy. Gas will then be sent on to Europe, potentially making Turkey a strategically important hub in the region's energy distribution market. Turkey is almost entirely reliant on foreign sources of energy. It imports more than half of its gas needs from Russia. Much of the rest comes from Iran and Azerbaijan. And its needs are growing rapidly. The economy grew by a faster than expected rate of 3.5% in the fourth quarter of last year. And its energy minister has announced 2 new sources of oil and gas that could make Turkey far less reliant on imports.
We will engage in active drilling in Mediterranean and Black Sea for the first time in our history with 2 new vessels that we will buy this year. We will sink 2 wells in the Mediterranean and 2 in the Black Sea each year.
Most of Turkey's energy is produced by burning natural gas. Coal is another major source. Hydroelectric power, solar, wind and oil make up the rest of Turkey's energy mix. But to reduce its dependence on foreign energy, Turkey also wants to boost coal production. It's investing heavily in renewable sources such as wind and solar power. And it's building 2 new nuclear power plants, also with Russian help. After a major diplomatic row in 2015, Turkey and Russia have come a long way in rebuilding ties. And that's helping them get down to the business of making the best use of the region's vast energy resources. Azhar Sukri, TRT World.
Well, joining me here in the studio is Alexander Prosviryakov. But before we get to the questions, Alexander, I just want to tell the viewer a little bit about you. We have in your resume 3 MBAs from the top universities, including the London School of Economics and New York University. It's all coming up on the screen now. After starting your career at Citigroup, you founded the investment bank Whitestone Capital in 2016. And then you, before starting your career at Citigroup, we've been through this, haven't we? And in the arena of public service, you've been a member of the Russian and Asian Business Council Forum. So quite an illustrious CV there. Sorry to embarrass you about that. Let me ask you about Turkey's relationship with Russia. We heard at the end of the report there that it has suffered over the last couple of years. Do you think that they are now resuming business as usual?
They are trying to, and after the meeting in March on the highest level that was in Moscow, there are talks that Russia and Turkey will reestablish the business relationships. If we look at the figures for last year, it was only $15 billion of trade between the 2 nations. And
that less than usual?
Absolutely. It was a third less than previous year and much less than before. But in the next few years, the Turkish officials announced the figure $100 billion, which is basically 6 times more than current.
Now, these 2 countries take opposite sides in the war in Syria. But the Turkish Stream project is incredibly important to both. So presumably that will go ahead no matter what.
Yes, I believe it will go ahead. The construction works already started. I think in 2019 it will be already functioning, because it's not only important for Turkey, it's important for Russia, because we need to have a reliable source of exports to Europe. And the second pipeline, that will be the first one will be to Turkey, the second one will export gas to European nations. There were talks about 4 pipes, now it's only 2 of 32 billion cubic meters. But if they go ahead with the first 2, I think nothing will stop them.
Let me switch topics for a moment. We heard a couple of weeks ago that British banks, they were accused of money laundering for Russian gangsters who have links to the Kremlin, hundreds of millions of dollars over a few years.
Yeah.
Is that an open secret in Moscow that this sort of amount of money is flowing out?
Well, if we look at the other nations, because this was announced after the Panama case,
That's
when
right.
a lot
Panama
of
Papers,
materials, yeah, the Panama Papers. So Russia is not the only country involved, and we are not the highest ones in terms of numbers. So Russian people are more or less okay with that because we're on the same level as most countries, and nothing is yet proven because there are no. Nothing is like we don't know whether these is got the gray money or it's just official contracts with paying the suppliers when we purchase something.
Let me ask you then finally about those protests we saw last week against corruption. Do you think the government is listening? Do you think there will be any change in Russia?
Well, the fact that there is a big meeting in Russia and it is gaining media coverage is already a big step forward. We didn't have that prior. So the more attention we get, the media gets, people get, the more chances there will be like investigations. Well, we will find whether somebody is guilty or not, and the guilty will be punished.
Alexander Prosviryakov, thank you so much for joining us on Money Talks.
Thank you.